Has Bitcoin finally bottomed? Have we put in that macro low that everyone has been waiting for? Let's take a look at some data in today's video to show some significant evidence of the bottom forming. All right, guys, make sure you've smashed the like to a new all-time high. Thank you so much for the support, getting into a new all-time high on every video, and of course, subscribing to the channel as well with the bell notification icon turned on so you can be updated with the content right here. We'll have a look at the cryptocurrency trading that we've been following over the last few days on the channel. Of course, shout out to Bybit. Link is in the video description. $4,450 of sign-up bonuses. Make sure if you are using leverage, you have a plan, you use stops, and just stay safe in the market. And if you're a US resident, there is BitGet down there up to $8,000. So you can have a couple of accounts on either Bybit and BitGet and spread your risk across these platforms. You know from experience that a lot of markets can go down, so make sure you spread your risk out over there as well. It's all about managing risk when it comes to trading and investing. So Bitcoin, this is what we're looking at in our previous video. You can see we had some rejection points here and waiting over the next weekend. Well, that was the 48 hours back then to see where Bitcoin was topping out. So we'll look at this in the micro view and then obviously go to the macro play as well. So this was the video a couple of days ago. Bitcoin, what happened? Well, we got another rejection at 21,700. You can see the candles here on the 4-hour could not close above that level. So this is how close this is able to get to the market in terms of the price, right? So 21,711, the 4-hour, 21,700, and then it opened there again and closed all the way back down. So this was the level that we were looking at on Saturday for the market to hold up if we were to go to, if we're in a long trade. And that's where we're looking to place some of the stops, just under here around that sort of 20,700, or if you want to try and get super close underneath the bar candles. So that level is about 20,800. Now, if you're not trading it, doesn't matter. The point that we're looking at here is to give us some idea about whether the market is trending up, whether we are trending down. So this is in terms of our invalidation signals. So if we did get the breakdown, then the market is invalidating the move up, and we need to be prepared for further downside. This comes in handy when there's a lot of fearful news out in the market telling you that the market has to drop to new all-time lows. It has to go to $3,000 for Bitcoin, or any sort of recessionary fear that comes out in the market. If you can stay abreast of where these support and resistance levels are, it really does help understand what's going on in the market, rather than just play it like every other retail trader and not understand where these points in the market are. So we've seen the rejections. The market is now coming back to come and test these levels, probably around 20,700, 20,800. I think if we don't hold that, then it'll have to come back and test the next levels. But the main thing is the fear and emotion will probably be high, and people will be fearing the breakdown of 20,000 again, which is beneath the old all-time high, and then that just exacerbates the fear across the cryptocurrency market. So in terms of the short-term play here, got rejected. There's your short trade to the downside, but we do have some support coming up at the moment for Bitcoin. Before we dive deep into the data for the Bitcoin macro low, shout out to the video sponsor, which is Coinly, and it's a timely one for us here in Oz as we're coming up to the end of financial year. So you can sign up for a free account. Link is in the video description. Plus you'll get a further discount on your reports. So make sure you use that link down below. Coinly, you can connect this and auto sync it to all of your cryptocurrency exchanges to get you some reports on your trades throughout the financial year. Now, this is going to save you a lot of money rather than giving all of it to the accountant, because essentially what I've seen is accountants will tend to charge you to learn how to collate all of the crypto trades across different crypto exchanges. So if you want to reduce that time, reduce that financial burden, check out Coinly. Link is in the top of the video description, and you can also get the further discount on your reports if you use that link down there. All right, over to the data now. Google Trend Words. This is so interesting. Bitcoin bottom, huge trending term, which is why I have it in the title of today's video. Stay woke about these things. Sorry to use that term, it's terrible, but stay abreast of the words in these video titles across all of YouTube, across all of Twitter, anything with articles that is based on search volume traffics on the internet. Look at the search volume for Bitcoin bottom. It's the highest it's ever been in the entire history. And I only went back to 2014. There's not much for it going further back. And then here, the data isn't that good on Google Trends anyway. But this is massive. So let's look at the previous cycle. December 2017 was the peak in Bitcoin, and then it had a very, very quick, significant dump. Going forward to February, Bitcoin did happen to dump again, but that was just around the peak of Ethereum. So that was when all the altcoins were peaking as well. So let's take a look at a more macro picture here, go back to see what was going on in 2018. There was the dump in December, which is why we can see the peak out here in December. Then go to February. There's that dump down to $6,000 on Bitcoin. Have a look here. You got the peak in February for Bitcoin bottom. You know, people are waiting for this bottom to come in. But then you look at the peak here in December 2018. That was the true bottom. Go have a look at the price here. Here it is, December 2018. That was the bottom for the cycle. But the search term was at a lower high than in February and December. There was your first major dump. There's your second major dump. June of 2018 was also a major dump, but I don't think it was that. That was right here, basically coming back to February. But again, that was a lower high. Technical analysis works across anything with charts. That's why I focus so heavily on the TA rather than the fundamentals or anything else like that, because it's a skill that you can apply to everything else in life. And if you want to learn more, links in the description. Shilling my trading and investing education down there. So check it out. This helps so much. December, there's your major cycle bottom, and the Google Trends was lower than the previous tops. Okay, next bottoms, January 2021. This is Bitcoin bottom. Remember with search term here. You've got May 2021, pretty similar to January and May of where we are in the Bitcoin search terms. So here we go. January, freaking out. May, freaking out. It's the same price. And we have January of 2022. So that's the most recent one. You can see that here. And now we've exploded to the next one. This is the highest point for the search terms right now. So Bitcoin at 100, this is the highest. It could keep going up, but I think we might be on that slight curve down. If we change the dates here, just go back and look at the last 12 months, you'll see a slightly closer view of what's going on. You can see we're just starting to trend down this week. So maybe we've reached the peak of the search term for Bitcoin bottom, which usually means, well, we might see it sort of trend sideways for a little bit. Now, the main thing I want to look at here is I think we might have some slightly lower prices, but this won't show up in terms of a higher searched volume for Bitcoin bottom, because I think the market's probably going to go dead. I still believe if you've been watching, probably over the next 6 or so months, we're not really going to see anything too significant for new all-time highs, $100,000 Bitcoins. We can pretty be assured that we're not going to see that in 2022, probably not even in 2023 either. But just looking at that chart, what we've just looked at in terms of the search volume traffic here, probably going to see it trend out and maybe sort of dump into some other further lows, 14, 15, 16K, maybe somewhere around that point. It's a maybe at this point, but the search volume will probably be lower than what it is now. Probably. And that gives us a reasonable sign that it's possible that we're around that low. So if we know that, what do we do moving forward? Well, if we have the price at 21,000 we currently are, and we've got the low at 17, if this does sort of move down into the zone here that we've been looking at between 12 and 16K, then the percentage of a move isn't that much. And you probably heard me say it time and time again. I think we're trending around the bottom ranges for Bitcoin. For cryptocurrency, different story. I don't think the cryptos are at their low yet. But in terms of Bitcoin, I think we're going to be trending around this level, and we'll probably have some time to dollar cost averaging between, let's see where the final low is. Maybe it's 12, maybe it's 14. But we do have a significant low at the moment at 17.5. And depending on where this bounces to on a shorter term time frame, that'll give us a bit of a trading zone. So maybe our trading zone is up to these highs here at $23,000. So we have to be prepared to understand that we might trade between 14K and 24K. So you could almost see a 100% move up and then possibly a 50% move down. And that would be the trading range for the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months. That's what I think is coming next for this Bitcoin low. Search volume is at extreme highs at this point in time. And we just have to wait and see what happens next for Bitcoin. Now, the other big big macro thing. Don't switch off yet. This is the big macro thing. What I'm seeing across the board are big companies trying to bail out different cryptos. Morgan Creek trying to counter FTX's BlockFi bailout. FTX 250 million. They're coming to try and help BlockFi. Morgan Creek's coming to try and help BlockFi. Goldman Sachs is coming to try and buy up Celsius. I don't think this is any good news for people who actually got stuck in Celsius, because it's going to have to go bankrupt at some point, potentially go bankrupt. We don't want to throw too much FUD out here. But we're seeing a lot of the big money traditional markets, and FTX acts as a traditional market because they have the knowledge and experience of traditional markets, unlike Three Arrows Capital, which is a hedge fund and just went absolutely ballistic, making all stupid calls, acting like a retail degen in the market, using billions of dollars. FTX is not like that, in my opinion, from what I have seen, the way that they maneuver around the markets at particular times. And so I'm seeing these as signals that we are, in terms of fundamentals, looking at the news, that these other companies, these bigger players who have survived and have been strategic and smart through the bull market, are now starting to make their moves in the bear market to acquire other cryptocurrency exchanges, other cryptocurrency interest earning apps. But what they'll probably end up using is the list of clientele that they have, that some places like Celsius have built up, and use that to then market towards, to get them into their own apps, or take over the app, rebrand it, rename it, just like FTX has done with things like Blockfolio, which is now called FTX app, if you're unfamiliar. So I think this is the time that is all happening. Voyager probably going to go through the same sort of thing. They've limited their withdrawals. Who knows, next couple of weeks, maybe we see FTX trying to make a buyout of Voyager. A couple of other things, mining difficulty falls by 2.35%. Remember the on-chain data. Never forget the guys who go on and on and on about on-chain data. I think it's just as nonsense as everything else. The on-chain data hash rate going up. We're going to hit all-time highs, but this was the whole period that Bitcoin was going down. Look at the date there. We got August, September, October, November, December. It's still going up. The market is tanking here. December, January, February, March, April, May. Finally, hash rate's turning over. And after it fell over, well, now we're starting to see the negative headlines. More negative headlines, which is why I think we're sort of pedaling around those lows. And this is to instill the hopium within the FUD. I go around the FUD all the time, but this is really the times that we need to start washing that FUD away. Wall Street, week ahead, you're seeing these big headlines, right? US stock market is on track to mark their worst first half of the year in more than 50 years. These sort of like targets of this is the worst thing ever. This is what we saw at the peak of the market. Never forget that. The peak of the market, October, November's, we were seeing a lot of bullish news only, yet the price was just not able to go up any higher. I mean, if you want to call 59,000 to 69,000 a big move, it's not really, now that we can look back on that. And even from the previous peak of March and April, really not that much was gained from 6 months or so in the market, 6 to 9 months. So this was really the peak. Then we had a slight push above, and now we're all the way back down here. So I'm using the same thing, flipping it around, your Wall Street cheat sheet, understanding the emotions of the market, extreme fear at the moment. Let's see what happens to price. If we only get a little bit of a further drop down to 16, 15, 14, in terms of a percentage, it's still reasonable, maybe 30%, but in terms of a price move, they're getting smaller. They're getting smaller. Look at the moves down. Bang, big move, and then we went sideways. A smaller move, and now we're going sideways. This is smaller compared to the last move. And we're just measuring up these moves like we do with our short-term trading as well, to give us an idea of what's happening next. So the fear could be high. We could see more downside in terms of a dollar value below 17,500. I don't have the crystal ball here to tell me the future, but what the market is telling me is that we're probably trending around the bottoms at the moment. Whether that bottom's 14 or 17, it doesn't really matter in the long term. You need to just buy in a cycle of the market, in a series of bottoms in the trading range, wait for the move up, sell out when everyone's super, super excited, and then go on holidays. That's what we've learned from the past. So in terms of the macro play, This is where I see us in terms of our trading. That's what we had with the rejections on the BTC value at the moment. So I'm waiting to see what comes in on the larger term time frame here on the daily. And then we can start to play for the altcoins as well. And the altcoins that we were watching in specifically here was Sol and ADA. So Sol is having that pullback now, and just looking at the rejection points here. So this is the resistance at about that 42 or so dollars. And we still have an uptrend using our swing indicator here. Still got an uptrend at the moment, just waiting to see how much profit is taken from the guys who have been trading this on the way up. Profit taking targets, and then see if we start to get that trend back up towards the next levels. You know, you can call any of these swing tops sort of 48, 54, and back up towards sort of 58 and $60 for the shorter term outlook. As for ADA, ADA is at 50 cents, 49.5. It's starting to see some slight rejection here. This was the downtrend that I posted here on the video, looking to see if we can break through that, test the next levels around 54, and then go towards around 66 cents. So it's still got some, it needs to break this downtrend before we can move on to that next stage. So keep those stops in play. Don't take them off just because you feel like it. You can see that level there at about 45.5 cents is probably going to be pretty significant here, because you can see these levels. This is to hold. If we're using the level here, right there, put it at those lows around that 45, 46 cents. Let's see if ADA can hold that. And apart from that, that's where we're sitting. Bitcoin looking all right for that macro low. We'll get into that in more detail as well for the larger term timeframes, looking specifically at some big plays here on the monthly as well. So like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course check out the sign up bonuses down below with those links, up to $12,500 on Bybit and BitGet. So check those links out down there. And you can sign up for a free account with Coinly as well, especially if you're in Australia this time of year for our tax returns. Thanks so much. See you at the next one. Till then, have more fun to get more done.